Welcome to the podcast editing and support show. My name is Dave. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to start the episode right now. Happy to have you here. Let's do this. Okay, welcome back to the podcast. Glad to have you here. Again, my name is Dave. We're doing some terms of use around podcast editing and support. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming back. Last episode, we talked about editing. We have some terms of use there. We talked about audio editing, noise reduction, mixing, and mastering. If you haven't heard that episode, jump back one in your list. You'll see it there, episode 24, and we went through those. Today, we're going to be looking at some producing terms of use. Again, we're not trying to get you to sign up for anything or sign a legal document. Terms of use in the simple words and simple theme that we want to make sure that we're all using the same words in the same way so we understand each other when we're talking as a podcast host and a podcast editor. We all understand each other and we can all get along, right, everyone? Yes, because we know what we're saying and we know what the other person is talking about. Today we're looking at producing terms of use. Anything to do with along the lines of producing. I've got 4 things. It's not an exhaustive list, but 4 things that are going to come up in your conversations between podcast editors and support people and podcast hosts. This is going to come up in conversation, and you might as well understand what we're talking about so that you don't just go nod your head and go, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. You know exactly what we're talking about. So we're talking today about podcast editing and support, terms of use, frequently used terms around producing a podcast. And the first one that we're going to address is script writing.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Okay, so what is script writing, Dave? Script writing is crafting the dialogue and structure for each episode to ensure a coherent and engaging narrative. This happens before you hit record. This is not what happens after you're done recording. Script writing is when you actually lay out what you're going to be talking on your podcast about. It is the whole guide and roadmap to the content, making sure you're covering off your main points, of which I have 4. I have done script writing for you today. You're experiencing script writing right now. How does it feel? Does it feel good? Yeah, we know where we're going in this episode. I already have my show notes, my episode notes, simply by going through and writing out my script. Now, am I reading my script to you right now? Does it sound like I'm reading to you right now? No. I have my main bullet points of what I want to talk about today on the podcast editing and support show, but you're getting all Dave. This is me. This is how I talk. This is how, if you met me in public, this is what I would sound like. This is me. This is exactly who I am. And I'm not reading to you word by word over and over with no enunciation or feeling as I add awkward pauses to what I am reading to you in the moment. That's an audiobook. We're podcasters. We're not here to read scripts to you. We're here to connect with you as a listener. And your humanity comes out when you speak, and not so much when you read. So we're not talking about script reading, we're talking about script writing. Again, crafting that dialogue and the structure for each episode so that your listener walks away with a engaging podcast episode. We've hit all the buttons. We've connected all the dots. Script writing is one of those elements of producing a great podcast. And this term's going to come up when you're sitting with your podcast editor, support person, or podcast host. So now we know what script writing is. The next one is storyboarding.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Now, waterboarding is not storyboarding. Waterboarding is like punishment, and storyboarding should never be a form of punishment. Storyboarding is a positive thing that we do, and storyboarding would basically be this: creating a visual or textual outline of the podcast episode. And it helps you to plan the flow. It also kind of brings out the key points of what you want to cover in your podcast. So storyboarding is kind of like, okay, imagine a whiteboard, or back in the day when I was young, a chalkboard which your teacher would fling a chalk brush at you, or a piece of chalk if you weren't paying attention, and wham, well, right in the head. Yeah, those days are gone, thankfully. But storyboarding is just imagine this blank whiteboard, chalkboard, chart of paper, and there's nothing on it. Where do we want to go in this podcast? And let's map it out. That's storyboarding. And that's going to come up when you're talking with your podcast editing and support person. Did you know, as a podcast host, that we can help you storyboard and write your scripts? We can help you create the best podcast. You're not on your own. It's not like we just show up at the end of it and do the editing and off we go, we're done. We do much more as podcast editing and support people to support you in your podcast journey. You are not alone behind a microphone doing all this by yourself. We can help you storyboard and give you a great picture covering all the key points so that you know where you're headed in your next episode. We can work with you on this, and I'd love to help you with your show around storyboarding. The next one, around producing a podcast. It's interesting, you probably never thought of this, but producing your podcast also involves guest coordination.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
So if you've ever seen me dance, which you probably never will, you'll see and know very quickly that Dave guy, he's not very coordinated. My dancing looks kind of like what you might see on Seinfeld with Elaine. That's kind of my dancing, maybe at the best of times. And that's why I'm a musician, so I don't have to dance. I play the music so you dance. That's my job. Your coordination can be done through a podcast editor and support person to help you find the right guest for your show. We also do that as well. That's one of the parts of what we do to help support you as a podcast host. We can be the person that's there between you and your potential guest, kind of bringing the best to you and kind of helping you skip over the rest. We can help you manage your scheduling, the logistics for your guest appearances for you as a podcast host to be a guest on a different show, or for guests to come to you in your podcast. We can help arrange all that for you. We'll do all the hard lifting and heavy work and emails and make recommendations and make connections for you. And you simply show up and we'll take care of the rest. Did you ever realize that podcast editing and support people can do that for you? Did you feel like you had to do that on your own? We can help you with that. And as podcasters, as myself as a podcaster, I've got great connections with other podcasters who would love to meet you. I've also got great connections with other PR agencies, other ways for you to do things, to meet people. I'm on Podmatch, for example. It's a super great way to meet people. We can help you be a guest or find a guest. Definitely we can do that for you as one of your podcast editing and support personnel. Podcasters, you're not alone. Help us. We can help you with your guest coordination. We'll make you a better dancer than Elaine. We can do that for you. And the last one around producing your podcast, again, not an exhaustive list, everyone, but this is also one thing that we can do to help you produce your show. It's all around research.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I'm a history guy. I love history. I love all things history. I love the story. I love grabbing all these crazy facts and quotes, and that makes me happy. That lights me up. I could be the archaeology guy digging in the dirt with a little brush and a little scalpel and pulling away the dust and uncovering a treasure. We could do that for you so that you can focus on building your community, building your business, interacting with those around you who listen to your show. We can be the ones in the background doing the research for your show to give you great information to help you be a better podcaster. That's all a part of producing a great show. So when you're looking for a podcast producer, keep in mind, they can help you with script writing. A podcast producer can help you with storyboarding. A podcast producer can help you with getting the best guest or being a great guest. As well, a podcast producer can help you with the research side of your podcast. So many things that we can do outside of editing your audio and fixing up the little audio blurbs and fixes and things that you need for your podcast. We can do so much more than just audio or video editing. We're here for you as a podcast host. You're a busy person. And whether you have a business or this is a hobby, I'm sure you'd much rather be doing something else than editing your podcast, script writing, storyboarding, guest coordination, research. Ugh, right? We can help you with that. And I would love to help you with that. Podcasteditingandsupport.com is my information. You can find me there. You can always have a free one-on-one with me and let's talk more podcast editing and support. If you have got questions for me, as a host of 8 different podcasts, over 2,000 episodes, I've been doing this for a long time. I got some pointers for you. I can help you be a better guest. I can help you be a better host for your guests. I've got a lot of wisdom and a lot of things I've experienced that can help you and expedite your journey and make it faster for you and learn from some of the things that I've come across as a podcaster. That's the benefit of working with someone, is you don't have to figure this all out by yourself. So if you're looking for somebody to help you produce your podcast, my hand's raised. I would love to help you. And we would love to be there for you to help your podcast get better. Again, podcast producing includes, but not everything, but it includes script writing, storyboarding, guest coordination, and research. On our next episode of the Podcast Editing and Support Show, we're going to be looking at the podcast editing and support terms of use around podcast production. That's next. Join us on the next episode. Thanks for being here. Get out there, podcast, and when you're ready, look for a podcast editor and support person to make your podcast better. We're here for you, and we'd love to help you. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Catch you on the next one. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. Visit us at podcasteditingandsupport.com, podcasteditingandsupport.com. We would love to help you find a great podcast editor, or if you want to hire us, we would love to work with you. Podcasteditingandsupport.com. Catch you on the next episode. Take care.